Somewhere in the south, there is a house that hasn't been visible from the road in years. From the street, you don't see windows or a roof. You see a hill of solid green. Underneath that blanket is a porch someone once swept and a door someone once locked. A few states away, a couple is trying to sell a neat suburban home. Fresh paint, new appliances, clean inspection. Their buyer's mortgage lender suddenly backs out. Not because of the roof or the wiring or the plumbing, but because of a plant growing along the fence line. And in Florida, there's a lake that used to be open water. From above, it now looks like a field of flowers. Thick green leaves, lavender blooms, not a ripple in sight. It's beautiful in photos. The fish underneath are not impressed. None of these started as horror stories. Everyone began with somebody planting something they thought was helpful, clever, or just pretty. 3 plants, 3 kinds of damage. All invited. Let's start with the house that disappeared. The vine that swallowed it wasn't a mistake that slipped through customs. It was advertised, subsidized, and pushed on the public as a patriotic fix. Kudzu, the vine that ate the South. In the 1930s, after decades of intensive farming, the South was losing soil faster than it could be replaced. Congress went looking for a plant that could hold the land together. They turned to a vine from Japan that had been in American gardens since the 1870s. People liked its purple flowers and how easily it grew. The Soil Conservation Service produced more than 70 million kudzu seedlings and paid farmers up to $8 an acre to plant them. A radio host, Channing Cope, called it the miracle vine on his daily show. He started the Kudzu Club of America, signed up 20,000 members, and went on air to declare that cotton was no longer king. Kudzu was king. It sounded like a success story, right up until the vine started treating the entire landscape as its garden bed. By the 1950s, farmers were watching kudzu climb their pine trees, fences, barns, and anything else that held still. In summer, it can grow up to a foot per day, with vines reaching 100 feet long. It spreads over shrubs, poles, and entire hillsides, blocking sunlight until everything underneath dies under a smooth green surface. The government stopped promoting it in 1953. The USDA listed it as a weed in 1972. By 1998, it was on the federal noxious weed list. Today, it covers well over 200,000 acres of forest land in the southeastern United States and costs somewhere between $100 and $500 million a year in damage and control. The same system that once paid people to plant it now spends hundreds of millions trying to slow it down. If kudzu shows what happens when a miracle vine takes over everything above ground, the next plant shows what happens when the real problem is happening where you can't see it. Picture a quiet street with neat lawns and tidy beds. Along the fence, there's a tall, clean wall of green. It looks like the kind of hedge you'd see in a garden center brochure under instant privacy. Japanese knotweed. It grows fast. It fills gaps quickly. For anyone wanting a solid screen instead of a see-through fence, it must have looked like a shortcut. The catch is that the part you see is only a fraction of what you get. Japanese knotweed spreads through thick underground stems called rhizomes. They can reach up to 70 feet from the nearest visible stalk and grow several centimeters a day in season. They push through any crack they can find: foundations, drains, patios, driveways, gaps between paving stones. The hedge you admire above the fence is the tip of a much larger structure wrapped around your property from below. In 2016, a New York jury awarded a homeowner more than $500,000 after knotweed moved in from a neighboring shopping center. In 2024, a Massachusetts jury awarded a home buyer over $180,000 because a developer failed to mention knotweed before the sale. In some markets, a clump of this plant in the yard can make lenders treat the property like it has a serious structural defect. New York City has spent over $1 million trying to remove a single 30-acre infestation. The plant has been found in more than 40 states, and in some of them it still isn't officially labeled as noxious. Which means you can walk into a nursery, buy it as a garden plant, and only later discover what it can do to concrete and pipes. If kudzu covers what's above ground and knotweed attacks from underneath, the last plant in this story went for the water. Imagine a pond with a single pretty plant floating on the surface. Broad, glossy leaves, lavender blue flowers. Now imagine someone sees it at a fair, likes it, and takes a piece home for their garden. Then their neighbor does the same. And their neighbor's neighbor, water hyacinth. In 1884, it was introduced to the United States from South America for a pond display at a trade exposition in New Orleans. Visitors thought it was charming and took cuttings home. For a while, it was just another decorative pond plant. Then it started to show people what fast growing really looks like. Under ideal conditions, water hyacinth can double its mass in about 2 weeks. One handful can become a floating mat covering nearly 6,000 square feet of open water in a single growing season. Those mats can be several feet thick. They block sunlight, deplete oxygen, and turn rivers and lakes into slow, stagnant channels where native plants and fish die out under a cheerful blanket of flowers. By the early 1900s, it was clogging waterways across the southeastern United States so badly that engineers recommended building special crusher boats just to keep shipping lanes open. In 1956, transporting water hyacinth across state lines became a federal offense. Between 1980 and 1991, Florida alone spent more than $43 million managing it. All that from a plant that started here as a pretty accent on a trade fair pond. In some states, it's now banned from sale and distribution. In others, you can still find it in the ornamental section, waiting for someone to think their backyard pond would look nicer with a few more flowers. Nobody planted any of these thinking this will cost millions of dollars and end up in a courtroom or Congress. Someone wanted a vine for shade on the porch. Someone trusted a fast-growing hedge to give their yard some privacy. Someone wanted their pond to look like the one they saw at an exposition. The problem with plants described as vigorous, fast-spreading, and low-maintenance is that sometimes they are. They don't stop at the edge of the flower bed. They don't care about property lines, pipes, or survey lines. And the rules meant to control them almost always arrive long after the plants have made themselves at home. So the next time a catalog or a plant tag promises instant coverage, erosion control, or effortless privacy, it might be worth asking one more question. In the places that planted it first, what did it do next?